have property, right? You own land, a home, something you've poured your blood, sweat, and tears into, raised a family on, maybe even for generations. How would you feel if the government came and took it? If one day the G-Man shows up, knocks on your door and says, hey, we're building something that has state or even nationwide impact, and we're going to give you this amount of money for your land. Well, you say, but my family's lived here for generations and I don't want to sell it. Well, too bad. It actually happens more often than you might imagine, even today, and you could be next. It's happening in the Tennessee River Valley with a federal entity called TVA. Right now, proposed a construction of a power plant and a lot of power lines.
This is government overreach in the most basic of forms.
They have basically disregarded all of our property rights as property owners.
They want to put those high-powered tension lines, the great big steel towers, and they want to cut a 100-foot wide easement through forests that have been here forever.
I've been on this farm all my life. It's just a shame.
Our goal is at some point to be able to homestead a little too, and with transmission lines running through our property, I don't understand how we're going to be able to do that.
This got me going, especially because no one seems to be fighting for these people. And that's probably because almost a dozen Supreme Court decisions have historically sided with the government on stuff like this. As long as the government's willing to give you just compensation, which will be decided or determined by another government employee. And this is specifically done under the power of the Fifth Amendment's taking clause. It's ratified in 1791. It says, quote, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. Who decides just? But the one right before that, this is what gets me, is the Fourth Amendment. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects. And the 14th Amendment. Nor shall the state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. In this case, there doesn't appear to be due process either. One resident recounted the whole thing saying, quote, court documents said that they had 21 days to submit an objection with the clerk of court. They filed the objection with their attorneys, but this didn't stop the TVA from coming onto their properties. The families, quote, believe this is a violation of due process because they surveyed before it was ever heard in front of a judge. Here's my problem. Well, actually, I have a lot of problems with this. But first, it's my land. No one should be able to tell me that I have to sell it or take it for that matter, because like so many people, my farm that you see right there is where I have emotional value invested, like tons. Memories, my kids are growing up there, they shot their first deer there, my dog is buried up there. So no, I reject the notion that some developer or power company or pipeline project can take it to fulfill a line on a map. They don't care about what any of that emotional value is. It's my land. Fighting for your land is innately an American pastime. And I realize the irony by saying this since we literally conquered the land from the Indians, but the tendency for Americans to fight for their land is not a new concept. The Pennsylvania Whiskey Rebellion, 1794. Farmers had shootouts with federal marshals over land grabs and random surveys. It took a militia of nearly 1,300 federal troops to quell this. I side with the farmers. The Missouri Railroad land disputes of the 1850s. Reports of farmers who had a shootout, or lots of shootouts, with railroad surveyors and local sheriffs attempting to seize their land. Again, I side with the farmers. And I can sympathize with that sentiment. The government always does this. Big companies or government agencies doing the bidding of governments say, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that. And that's always their justification. I'm skeptical of the government because, like, who said you need to do it? Someone getting paid to do it? Someone not getting their land taken? Of course, that's always the person saying, we need to do this. And yet, in almost every case that has been brought on behalf of homeowners against state, local, federal land grabs, almost all of them have been lost. It's pretty whack. And you should be shocked about the authority given to some of these development projects. The TVA, this place is a perfect example of that. This is the Tennessee Valley Authority. It's a U.S. government agency, actually, created in 1933 to improve economic development in the Tennessee River Valley area, which is an estimated 41,000 square miles across 7 states. And in that area, they have basically unilateral federal authority to take anything, and then they could buy it from people with federal tax dollars under threat of seizure or foreclosure. These power lines they want to put up are the next agenda item. Now, they haven't taken any land yet, to be fair, They've just walked on a bunch of people's property to survey it without their permission. And they did notify a whole bunch of landowners, though, that they may be taking their land, and they're going to pay you what they think it's worth. So you know what? I called up one of the affected homeowners who had reached out to us, and she got this letter. She said, quote, "This input from a town hall meeting was considered and helped us reach a decision on the preferred alternative route, which may affect a portion of your property. TVA proposes building a 15.8-mile line using primarily double-pole steel structures no less than 100 feet wide." Oh, only 100 feet wide. "A TVA sitting representative will call you soon to discuss our right-of-way needs and to request consent to enter your property to conduct a field survey. Consent denied, as far as I'm concerned." And she was upset, naturally, a retired woman. I mean, who wouldn't be? But here's the kicker. She already has TVA power lines running through her land. Here's a view from the front of her house. They want to add 2 more of those towers. Why don't they just hang the existing new wires from the existing towers? Yeah, we thought this was a little weird too, but again, this is a federal agency that doesn't care about your land. They're just going through the motions. And in their eyes, you're an obstacle to the land they need. So we reached out to TVA, and they gave us this response. "Good morning. We have not made any decisions on the proposed Chatham project, nor the associated power lines. We appreciate the concern and are working with homeowners who may be affected. The Chatham generation project line with the administration's desire to unleash American energy to fuel growth and the economy." All right, dude, look, nice try with the MAGA spin here. You probably saw Newsmax in our signature, but you're still proposing taking people's land, okay? We're not cool. And when you propose something, you as TVA, you usually do it, and there's usually no recourse for any affected lot owners. Because, like in the case of the Tellico Dam project in the 60s, if you remember this was super controversial. TVA used eminent domain to acquire over 20,000 acres, displacing over 300 families, and submerged historical Cherokee burial sites, including the ancient town of Chota. And all the things, this is my problem. All the things that normally stop projects like this dead in their tracks didn't matter when it came to TVA. Environmental, archaeological, whatever. Normally when there's like an ancient Indian burial site, any project, federal, government, local, state, whatever, shut down. You're building a road, you find an arrowhead, you got to shut the whole project down. Like the freeway widening project halted when Native American remains were found near the I-405. That project was immediately shut down. They had to go work around it until that portion was properly accessed and cleared. We're talking about a whole highway. But TVA, when they found a burial site, nope, no problem at all. Anyway, TVA also just like they go through like endangered species stuff too. Normally that shuts down project also. Concerns like the Dakota Access Pipeline, that was shut down by a judge who was just like, hey, I think we should do an environmental study. They didn't even like damage anything. Nobody knew anything was damaged specifically. They just wanted to see if they were going to impact something. None of those standards apply to TVA. It's unbelievable. They flooded an entire area filled with endangered species and nothing happened. Like, they want something, they get it. And you want to know the craziest part? Want to know why these TVA people win? This homeowner and many others, they've reached out to their representatives, and they never got a call back. We reached out to those same representatives, actually, too, to have them on to talk about this. And even some of those people have been on this network for other reasons, for other topics, have been very friendly to this network. Those same people declined to speak with us about this. How crazy is that? States that said it was a federal matter, states said it was a federal matter said it was states matter. That's how we decided to do this segment. I mean, like, how would you feel if this was your property and nobody was coming to help you? Look, I know the Supreme Court has ruled on this type of land grab. I just don't agree with it. And I might stake my life on something like that. You can't take my stuff. You can't take the house someone grew up in, the land that previous generations may have worked. It's just not right. John Rich has been all over this. He tweeted out asking Doge to please look at the Tennessee Valley Authority. They're about to ransack Chatham County, Tennessee for absolutely no reason other than to spend billions of dollars and let their buddies do all the work making tens of millions. The way I see it, just because TVA or some government agencies, oh, we need to do this, that's not an argument that I can rationalize with. The greater good should not trump my property rights. It should not trump my sovereignty and my home, or yours either. The burden should be on the state to figure out how to do this amicably. Buy my property if I decide to sell it, or build around it. And the Supreme Court, who has ruled against we the people every single time this has come up to them, shame on you guys. You're basically telling us we never really own our properties.
He loves the Constitution. He fights for what's right. He hates the bad guys. He's a freedom warrior. He's your freedom warrior. Watch Carl Higbie every weekday on Newsmax.